Hi, my name is Marco and welcome to The Model Gene. Today, I'm going to be discussing some of the best and worst covers from June 2023. Margot Robbie looks perfect in pink on the cover of American Vogue, shot by Ethan James Green. The shiny, smooth texture of this Versace dress is a great match for the Barbie fantasy. The tone is fun and young, commercial but still fashionable enough to feel Vogue. Congratulations to Ethan on such a big cover. I think he is to Meisel as Meisel was to Avedon. British Vogue has Miley Cyrus with two different covers for this issue, this green Prada look and a black and white alternative wearing ITALIA. In the first cover, there is great movement throughout the photo, from her dynamic pose to the flowing ribbons to tangled hair. In the second cover, what we lack in color, we get in texture, and this coat makes for an exceptional cover image. My personal taste favors the second cover, but let me know in the comments which you prefer. The only thing I don't love across both images is that the skin retouching feels a bit heavy-handed, especially in the face, and in the black and white photo, we might have drifted from Miley Cyrus to Elizabeth Olsen, but nonetheless, a beautiful cover by Stephen Meisel. For their cover, Harper's Bazaar UK was invited to Highgrove House, the private residence of King Charles and Queen Camilla. This is the first ever fashion shoot at the residence, and after looking at the entire story, I think it was worth the wait. The styling is especially smart, balancing the opulence of this Erdem trench coat with a heavy country boot, grounding the fantasy in the reality of country life. Photographer Richard Phibbs did a great job in utilizing the grounds, but not letting Highgrove overwhelm the photos. Vogue Italia, France, Spain, and Germany all have covers shot by Oliver Hadlee Pearch, celebrating the trains across Europe. I think the concept is cute, and it's an interesting way to unify multiple Vogues without using the same cover image. My favorite of these is the Anocchii cover. Vogue Greece has Améline Valade on their cover, referencing this photo of Paloma Picasso by Helmut Newton. Améline looks amazing, but I wish there was a bit more of that Helmut Newton danger in the photo. Vogue Portugal is offering 4 different covers for the Voyage issue, including my favorite cover of the month, but they are all packing a punch. Unlike the previously mentioned Vogues, Vogue Portugal is taking us to a place you cannot reach by train. My favorite is this cover with inflatable hair that looks inspired by British artist Pandemonia, with a bit of Peter Lindbergh and Stephen Klein thrown in there. There's a humor to the photo, and the colors really pop on this arid landscape that could be on another planet. This is definitely a cover that will stick out on the newsstand and make you want to see more. Luna Biel is covering Vogue Czechoslovakia, shot by Arran and Jules. It is hard to take a bad picture of Luna when her face is so beautiful, and although at first I wasn't sure what I thought about this image for the cover, it is definitely growing on me. I like the mix of patterns, the fact that she is wearing sneakers, and the cover is making me curious about what the rest of the story looks like. Harper's Bazaar Kazakhstan has 2 covers for the Diamond issue, one I love and one not so much. For the portrait cover, there is a lot of different elements creating visual interest. This diamond mesh is casting the perfect amount of shadow to create visual depth without completely obfuscating the model's face. Underneath that, the pink hair and makeup is adding another element of intrigue. I would have not included the chain element on the top of her head, as I think the image would have been stronger without it. And although I know this is very finicky, but the misalignment of the mesh is something I would have tried to avoid, but I understand that that level of attention isn't easy on a shoot with several different looks. The second cover I think is much less successful. The diamond is reading more metallic with how few facets it has, and I'm not really clear on what the styling is trying to say. Harper's Bazaar Czech Republic's cover features model and jewelry designer Marie Sugi, and I think they really missed a great opportunity here. Her long, white hair has so much potential to make a really interesting graphic statement, but there is not enough differentiation between the subject and the background in this photo. Harper's Bazaar Germany went way too hard on the Photoshop for their May-June cover. Celeste Romero is really beautiful, but the aggressive retouching on her skin makes her face look like rubber, and they over-brighten the side of her face that should be in shadow. They could have done this properly by using a reflector to bounce some of the light on that side of her face, rather than doing it in Photoshop, but even with the reflector, that eye should not be so bright. This Prada dress, paired with a black camisole, looks shockingly cheap, and the text on the cover doesn't help either. Last month, I was critical about the Man About Town cover of Corey Milkreest for falling short on narrative, but Vogue Netherlands embraced the Queen Charlotte angle. The blush and cream tones are very pretty, the set design is not overly fussy, and I appreciate a Dutch magazine featuring this gown from Dutch designers Victor and Rolf. Speaking of Man About Town, they keep releasing more covers each day. Now we are over 18 and counting. My biggest issue across the board is that there is no overall vision for the issue, just a bunch of disjointed shoots with a range of models, actors, and random Instagram dudes. I would encourage their editor-in-chief, Damien Fox, to embrace the editor part of his title. Of all the covers I've seen so far for this issue, the one with model Josh Godswell stands out as a beautiful fashion image that makes me want to buy the issue. Icon magazine has New Face model Noel Hernandez on their cover. a great casting for the schoolboy look they are going for. I will always applaud when a men's fashion magazine puts a male model on the cover rather than a random actor, and Noel's face is unique and beautiful. Now for the worst of the month, Super Magazine falls into the category of those founded by photographers who want to say that their work is on covers, but the other magazines are not interested in publishing them. For the spring-summer issue, Leslie Kee has managed to offend me on so many different levels, I'm not even sure what the healing process is going to look like. This issue is allegedly a tribute to Richard Avedon, and I say allegedly because despite it saying a tribute to Richard Avedon on the covers, there is nothing about the covers that reflects Avedon's style. By covers, I mean covers, because there are over 50 different covers for this issue. The closest reflection of Richard Avedon that we get is the fact that his grandson Matthew is on 2 of the covers, but that is where the connection ends. In my video on inspiration versus imitation, I feature many tributes to Richard Avedon, but this is easily the worst. I do want to highlight the twisted brilliance of this scheme by Leslie Kee. When you are reaching out to a modeling agency or a celebrity's manager about photographing someone, they are going to be much more discerning if it is for an editorial. But if you say it's for the cover, you're much more likely going to get a yes from them. For example, Eniko Mihalik has shot campaigns for Max Mara, Carolina Herrera, Balma, Kenzo, been on the cover of Vogue Italia Beauty, Vogue Nippon, Vogue Paris, Vogue Mexico, Vogue Japan, just to name a few. A photographer like Leslie Kee would not be able to have access to a model at her level, but when you dangle a guaranteed cover, agents have a hard time saying no to that. Especially if you say the photos are going to be a tribute to Avedon, arguably the greatest fashion photographer in history, they likely felt comfortable in that premise and thought it would potentially help more than hurt her image. If you are actually interested in Richard Avedon, feel free to check out the video I've made about him in the description below, and please don't let Super Magazine's tribute to Richard Avedon poison your opinion of one of my favorite photographers. Be sure to subscribe to find out who comes out on top next month in the Battle of the Covers.